Hello there guys, it's Merz here, welcome back to another product review, and today I'll be doing a review on the Zaopin Z1 Pro. Per my usual disclaimer, no one actually did send this out to me. I purchased this with my own money, so all opinions and thoughts that I will say during this review is my own and my own honest opinion only. Now before we start with the mouse, like usual, let's start and talk about the packaging. Arguably a very nice looking packaging, full black Z1 Pro on the side with just Z1 Pro, and in the box you get a cable, the dongle right here, and the dongle extender itself, plus a replacement skates and dot skates. So if you want to swap this to dot skates, or if your skates already gone, you have replacement, which I think is really cool. But no grip tape or anything, that's literally all you get in the box itself. And the mouse. First of all, let's start and talk about the shape, and I think this is one of the coolest thing about the Z1 Pro, because if you have a keen eye, you look at this, you will know that it's basically an egg shape. So if you like egg shapes like Orochi and Aria, this is just right up your alley. I personally really love egg shape. I don't have my Orochi anymore, unfortunately, so point of comparison that I'll use for the Z1 Pro is the Aria, and I think it's perfect because the Z1 Pro feels like a more smaller Aria in my opinion. So for example, the measurement of the Z1 Pro is 110mm in terms of its length, 62mm in its widest point, which is the grip width, and 38mm on its highest peak, which is more towards the center here. So I wouldn't call this like an Orochi clone, I would call this like an Aria clone, because even though the size is small, I think it's more reminiscent of the Aria shape in terms of its hump placement. The Orochi have a very noticeable back hump, meanwhile the Aria, and the Z1 Pro have a very gradual hump towards the back, but it still retains the thing that we love from the Orochi. For example, a comfort groove on the thumb here. I love this kind of groove on the mouse, feels very natural, very nice to rest my hand on. And just like the Aria, the right side of the mouse is completely flat, so it's quite safe. You can place your finger wherever you want, and it's very nice. I have a 19 by 10.5 centimeter hands, and I personally play relaxed claw on the Z1 Pro. The Z1 Pro size wise is borderline small for me personally. I think if it's slightly even smaller, I probably wouldn't enjoy the Z1 Pro as much as I do now. With my 19 by 10.5 centimeter hands, I think relaxed clawing the Z1 Pro just feels good. It's not small. My finger rests almost at the front of the M1 and M2, and my ring finger rests almost at the front of the right side here, and my thumb sits perfectly under the side button. So like I said, if it's even slightly smaller in terms of its length, in terms of its width, I probably wouldn't enjoy the Z1 Pro as much. Now arguably, if you want something bigger, the Aria would suit you much more. It's longer than the Z1 Pro, as you guys can see here. It's also wider than the Z1 Pro right there, and the highest peak is actually the same. It's almost sub 40mm in its highest peak, so the hump part wouldn't feel too off place, but it's just the width and the length of the Aria that feels larger overall. Now personally, if I have to pick either one of these, I would actually pick the Z1 Pro. The Aria actually feels really nice if you like a much more larger feeling mouse, but coming from someone who always just prefers something much more smaller, I think the Z1 Pro fits right up my alley better than the Aria. I really like Z1 here. I think out of all the egg shapes, G305, Orochi, and the Aria, I'll pick the Z1 Pro over all of those mouse any day, because the shape here is just way better. Now the build quality on the Z1 Pro is also really solid. I think they nailed it in this department as well. There is barely any flex on the right side here, barely any creak or rattle to the mouse, so it's very solid top to bottom. Have some creaking, but it's very minor. I think you can barely notice this. I mean, especially in game, you will never press under here. And I would say the build quality on this mouse overall just feels really solid. There is slight rattling side by side on M1 and M2. It's very minor, but the problem is pre-travel and post-travel on M1 and M2 is not implemented that well. But aside from that, I think it's nitpicking. This switch still feels good, but it doesn't feel as good as something like the MZ1, for example. Texture wise, I would say this is also really solid. A lot of the mouse that I've owned, if you've noticed, there's a trend to it. I always use grip tape. I think grip tape is really important for mouse with lacking texture. But on the Z1 Pro, dealing it for about a month, I've never used any sort of grip tape on this mouse at all. So I would actually say that the texture is quite fine. It's still not as grippy as things like the GPX, for example, XM2WE or anything else. It still feels quite smooth, but I got a good grip on it, and even when I'm sweating, it's not as slippery as the other offerings in the market. So I would say the texture is quite fine here. So we covered the texture, the build quality, and the shape. Let's move on with the mouse button. We are using Huano Blue Shell Pink Dot with TTC Gold encoder, so just the pretty standard high-end, not high-end, like the pretty standard enthusiast switch and scroll wheel. I think Huano Blue Shell Pink Dot here is amazing, but it's not the best Huano Blue Shell Pink Dot that I've tried. I think, for example, the Jitoper G2 here have a much better feeling M1 and M2 implementation, in my opinion. But the scroll wheel feels really good, really smooth, and it's almost, I think it's basically a carbon copy of the Fantech Aria. They basically feel the same, but the Aria has slightly more rattle than the Z1 Pro, but they almost feel identical. They even look identical, so there's that. And the side button is, to me, feel the best. It's very small because the mouse itself is very short in terms of its height. When I'm holding the mouse, I can easily rest it under the mouse and easily actuate it with my thumbs. There is, like I said, replacement mouse feet in the box, which is quite nice, and I think it's really important because even though the mouse feet isn't A tier or S tier like Tiger Eyes, Core Pads, etc., I think it's still good enough that you don't really have to swap it, but I would recommend swapping this third-party one when it is available. Now on a glass pad, it really doesn't matter what feet you use, they all almost feel identical, but the Z1 Pro feet I think wore down the quickest out of all of my mouse because I've used this again for a month and it's already quite unbearable. It's very loud. But if you use this on cloth pad, I use this on AC2, ES1, AC2, and the IKEA Lens Polari, and they just all feel quite good. I'm not gonna swap them, but if you use it on glass pad, make sure you're ready with the extra because I think they just wore down way too quick. And let's talk about performance, and I think the Zaopin Z1 Pro performs really well. I've played a lot of Valorant with this mouse, a lot of Osu, and a lot of Overwatch. So tracking, flicking, and overall just the accuracy and the feeling of the sensor itself in game just feels amazing, just like all the other 3395 performing mouse out there. The mouse itself is using 1000 Hz polling rate, even though the sensor itself can go up to 4000 Hz polling rate. Zaopin still have not sold the Z1 Pro 4K Hz dongle yet, so I cannot really evaluate the performance there, but the 1K Hz performance out of the box straight into the dongle feels amazing. Now the wireless performance is also quite good. Again, I always have my dongle beside my mousepad or in front of my mousepad for all of my testing, and I have noticed zero dropout, zero lag, zero wireless interference with the Z1 Pro in-game, so no worries there as well. So my configuration is the regular bottom with 500 mAh battery, so the heaviest configuration out of all of them. It weighs in at 51 grams. You could get 46 grams if you want the hollow with 200, but I just feel like the extra battery, and it feels really solid with the hollow. I mean with the solid. I don't know if the hollow will feel as solid as the regular bottom, but the battery life for me lasted about a week on a single charge, which I think is quite solid. I want to talk about value. Again, I'm just going to use MacKeys. You can get this cheaper from Taobao or some other website, but MacKeys is stocking these or accepting pre-order on these, so I'll just use that website. At $43 to $50 depending on your configuration, it is battling with other 3395 mouse. You have the Deluxe M800 3395 edition, the VGI Dragonfly F1 Pro, again, even though it's not the F1 Pro, just pretend it is because it's the F1 Pro internal. Dharma Shark M3, the Miaoyao XJ03 that I just reviewed recently. I would probably just put the Gitoper here as well, but this is a bit more expensive at $69. So out of all of this mouse, at $50 or $43, depends on the configuration that you pick, the value that you get on the Z1 Pro is huge. I would say it's on par with all of this mouse. Deluxe, Dharma Shark, VGN, all of them are basically on the same price point, and all of them feels really good performance wise. So the only difference between all of these mouse is the shape. So in terms of actually asking about value, it's not something that I can personally answer anymore, because it's really just up to you guys. What shape are you looking for, and what feature set are you looking for? Both of the Dragonfly F1 Pro and the Zaopin Z1 Pro have 4K Hz compatibility out of the box. Darmosha M3, if you want 4K, you have to buy the M3 4K. The Lux have probably the most well-known name out of everyone here, with a lot of features set, and the accessory that they include is quite nice, although being the heaviest of the bunch here is quite surprising as well. And the Gitoper G2 is easily just one of the most safest mouse out of this entire list. But aside from like the shape differences and some different feature set, they're all amazing performing mouse that I would not hesitate to recommend at all. The Zaopin Z1 Pro is easily my favorite out of this list, just because I prefer the shape and I actually play really well with the Z1 Pro. So hope that kind of helps you out. I know it's not a great answer, because I'm just basically giving you a vague answer on it's your money, do what you want, because it really is. So again, hope you guys enjoyed this video. Thumbs up if you do, thumbs up if you don't. If you have any comment or question regarding the Z1 Pro, leave them in the comment section down below. I'll try to answer them as soon as I can, as fast as I can. And if you have any other mouse you want me to review, try to leave it down in the comment section below. I'll try to answer them and see if I can get a unit or not. So hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I'll see you guys next time. Peace.